Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to our second Fireside Chat as part of our Come Back Strong campaign, Without the Fire. Today I am joined by Alison Wong. Alison is the founder of White Doe, which is a consultancy that helps operators be better with their financial controls. Alison is the finance director of Wright and Bell. I'll say that they are an Airship client. They operate white and brown, lino, Kitty Hawk, and in the pandemic in July, they opened the green room as well. Welcome, Alison. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Dan. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm really good. End of day. So yeah, I'm really good. Thanks. Do you want to just introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do?
Yeah, of course. My friend actually gave me a good way of describing what I do. She called me the Mary Poppins of the of the hospitality world for financials. So I help small businesses with their financial and business strategy. And really until they're ready to, I guess, fly the nest and ready for a finance director or CFO full time, so until that point, I'm there to help.
Amazing. That sounds incredible, actually. What do you think? Obviously, it's been a tough year, and I think that obviously CFOs, finance directors, they've really had to step up to the plate this year, like no other time before, to help the businesses survive. And it's all been about survival. So what do you think the three key things are that operators need to think about to get the strongest return?
You're absolutely right. It's been a year like no other. I think, everyone said it, it's been unprecedented, all of those things. The job of finance director has never been more important. It has never been so different before. I would say the first thing is to understand exactly where you're at, with abilities to defer your VAT, with rent moratoriums, all of those things. What you have in the bank as cash amounts can just be really deceiving. It could be masking lots of problems underneath. So understanding exactly where you're at and planning for it. One of the big things you'll see is that every business virtually is going to come out of this with bad debt, whether that's rent, VAT, PAYE, all of those things. So you're going to end up in a period where you are recovering, so earning less money than normal probably, whilst having double the amount of cash requirements to pay back everything you've earned so far. So make a plan for it now. Don't wait. You need to be knowing exactly where you're at, how you're tracking against your plan, and therefore you can make corrections and speak to people and negotiate before you get to such time as you run into real trouble.
Very good. Yeah, I think what I found, and we've traded it the last year. We've not been closed, but lots of our clients have, and we've raised lots of credit notes. I think that HMRC, I have a 2-year plan to pay the HMRC, and they are very open to discussing anything that's outstanding and getting that payment plan down and getting it agreed. And I think that you've just got to take all of that help that you can take. I mean, we've had a C-bills or 2 C-bills now, and it is about making sure that if you're taking that help and taking that money, that you have it mapped into the future. As you say, you've got twice as much going out, you're going to need to make twice as much coming in.
Exactly.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Go on.
I was just going to say, one thing to flag up is that C-bills deadline, as it currently stands, I think ends in about 2 months. So it's about looking at it right now to see if you need a bit more help in the future. Even if it's in 12 months time, you're looking at it, you want to know right now, because you get a year's interest free. You're not making any repayments for another year. So, that's why it's so important as well.
Yeah, I think the C-bills is great because you can just sit on the cash, and if you don't need it, you can give it back.
Exactly that.
And absolutely, before you have to make any repayments. So, and obviously the whole industry has been incredibly entrepreneurial over the last 12 months as well. There's been a ton of new revenue streams. How do you think operators should decide which revenue streams to focus on post-pandemic?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Necessity is a mother of all invention, right? I think the biggest thing is to understand exactly how you've been performing within this pivot. You know, what you might have been doing so far is it's been reducing your fixed costs and, you know, keeping things afloat, as it were. But what it may not be doing is it may not be actually making you money. You know, if it's not making you money right now, it's not going to make you money when we come out of the pandemic, when people have the option of actually going out to a restaurant to eat or going to a bar to have a drink. So understand where you're at, where you've been, and know what you've invested in so far. And just understand whether or not, with all of those caveats, model, you know, I'm an accountant at heart. I love a model. You know, I'll just be doing lots of different scenarios going, okay, what if we are at 50% of our current sales? What if we're at 80% of our current sales? What does that mean? Does it still make sense for us to still be doing this on the other side? And also, are there any additional requirements? You might be running out of your own kitchen right now. Once you're reopened, you can't run out of your own kitchen anymore. So what additional investment would you have to make, and therefore whether that's worth it as well?
Yeah, fine. Yeah. I think I'm going to be fascinated by the meal at home kits and see if they survive post-pandemic. I think that in my heart of hearts, I want them to. I want to be in Sheffield where I am, but being able to eat food from Hickory's or order a bacon naan from Dishoom, or, you know, last Friday we had hot dogs from Meat Liquor, we had cocktails from Brewhouse and Kitchen. You know, it was great, but it was 70 or 80 pounds. It had to be pre-planned. It came with a load of packaging, and I just worry that the consumer behavior around that particular revenue channel will just disappear afterwards. I hope it doesn't, but we'll see. And what, finally then, the last question, obviously, unfortunately, there's going to be some closure. We've already had many clients of ours have already downsized and closed some units. There've been CVAs that people have gone through, and administrations and liquidations. How do you think operators should focus, you know, investments, expansion? What should they be looking for, and, you know, how should they be thinking about that?
I think you're totally right. You know, where there's risk, there's opportunity. And, you know, we've seen lots of, you know, industry veterans, investors who are building up, I guess, a big war chest really to start investing in these businesses. You know, there's no denying that there are going to be casualties, unfortunately, but that also means there'll be kitchens that are already fitted out that you can just move into with a lick of paint. You know, there'll be hopefully more sensible and reasonable rent deals out there on the other side as well. You know, I think the first thing to do is, you know, harking back to our first question, which is the deferred debt, you know, is get through those first. You know, don't get ahead of yourself, you know. And there are some investments that are worth making if you have the funds, absolutely, because it can accelerate yourself out of that debt. Just be sure of where you are. And I think it's also about battening down the hatches. You know, it's a really great opportunity. You've probably cut off all your costs. So make sure you are, with your existing businesses, you're making as much money as possible to get yourself into a position whereby you can expand again. And the third thing is, the world's changed really. You know, your investment criteria is going to change as well. You know, if previously you spent £1 million on a new site, don't spend it on 2 sites instead.
Yeah, that's sound advice. I think, the people they're going to want to sprint, aren't they? Everybody's going to want to come running out of this, and there's going to be actually just let's hang fire. Let's see what the rest of the world needs to get vaccinated first, and, you know, before we get travel and stuff. So I think actually just making sure that you know where you are and that you're on top of that already, those plans that you've made, is going to be really, really important. That's really great, and thanks very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And you're going to do the life cycle of the bill for us, which is going to be on the 4th of March. People can head over to airship.co.uk or use toggle.com to register for that event.